Say yeah, it feels good, don't it? Damn, it feels good to have people up on it. Say yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 35 of Community Chronicles, a DDPY community video interview experience. My name is Anthony Vignes. Some of you may care. My guest tonight, however, is someone that we all know and love, someone who has a great story to share, someone that I've been buddies with for going on 2 years now. Please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Rob Ramsey. Welcome, Rob.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And Rob's someone that it's always been in the back of my mind to do one of these with Rob. We typically, we went from trying to feature people you may not know about to now just whoever will agree to do it. So Rob agreed to do it. We're sitting here on a gorgeous Saturday night. I'm hanging out in my basement talking to my buddy over the computer. Couldn't ask for anything better.
Doesn't get any better than that.
All right. So Rob, many of us know it, but we want to hear it from your own sweet lips. How did you come to find the DDPY program, and what has it done for you since?
That's a really long story, but I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. I had an injury at work that resulted in a severe spinal lumbar, basically just an explosion of my lumbar area, L1 through S1. I was carrying a box at work that was just entirely too heavy, and I took about 3 or 4 steps with it, and my back just went pop, 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 pop. And my right leg went completely numb from the hip to my foot, and I couldn't control it. Fortunately, I regained some of that function back down to my mid-calf, but the foot is still wavering. Recently, I have got some movement back in that area, but anyway, that's another story. But I became dependent on pain pills and fentanyl to be able to function daily. And once I had the injury, I continued to work for probably close to 11 years. But it was just every little episode just seems to make me worse and worse and worse. And I ended up having more surgeries, and they failed, and more surgeries, and they failed, to a total of 7 surgeries, and which the last surgery is the only one that I would classify as a success. And that surgery was where they went in and actually removed all the hardware out of my back. And what it did for me was actually relieved all the nerve damage pain in my leg, going down my right leg and into my foot, and the neuropathy and everything that goes along with that. But it was what I call the only successful surgery. So, but after that last surgery, the state of Ohio decided that I was no longer able to function safely at work, and they decided to take me off of, be able to take me off of what I would consider a working person. And they classified me as 100% disabled. And they came through and they gave me disability, and they signed me right up for Social Security disability. And they just basically told me, go home, sit down, relax, and just enjoy the rest of your years. Like, you're no longer a productive part of society anymore. Well, I listened to that stupid advice for about 3.5 years. And I went from basically 190, 195 pounds up to 237. My life consisted of just sitting on the couch, other than getting up and going to the restroom or going to doctor's appointments. That was my life. It was just completely sedentary. I did things that I would forget that I would do because I was on such a high dose of medicine. When I first started out taking fentanyl, I was on what they called a low dose, which was 75 micrograms. But by the time I got off of the fentanyl, I was on a dose of 150 micrograms, which my own doctor told me that, hey, the dose that you're on, if I would take a one-time dose, it would kill me, but it's okay for you. So So anyway, I had a lot of different issues with taking the pain medicines, and I thought about getting off of them. And I'm sure you've heard the story of where I fell asleep behind the wheel at a traffic light with my grandson in the vehicle. And that was kind of the aha moment. I had seen Dallas on the Joe Rogan episode, and watching that and him telling, how he blew his back out and how he recovered and what he did to recover. And I thought in the back of my head, hey, this worked for this guy who's in a little harder job than I have physically. So work for him. Why can't it work for me? And that's kind of where I went with it. So I checked myself into, after I had the incident with my grandson, I checked myself into a rehab facility, and I stayed there long enough to detox. And then I checked myself out, and they told me that I had a less than 1% chance of surviving or completing that. And I haven't been back since. After I detoxed, I haven't touched opiates since that day. That was September 14th, 2018. Today I'm clean and sober. That's just how my life has to be. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't, I barely take Tylenol. But what I do is I do this DDPY stuff. And whether the world believes it or not, this shit actually works. It relieves my pain. It gets me up and I'm active and I move and I get out and I do stuff. I'm not sitting on the couch anymore. I'm up and I'm doing the things that I need to do, and I'm happy and I'm active. Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, the rehab part, I didn't realize, I can't imagine after developing a chemical dependency like that, just checking in someplace for a couple weeks and then checking out and being completely done. It takes a tremendous amount of focus and strength. But then knowing you as a person, that doesn't really surprise me either, to be pretty determined. What aspect of this program helped you manage your pain the most? Is there any one particular area of your body, one particular type of workout that you think had been most beneficial helping you there?
A lot of people don't really seem to think that that Paige's workouts are super hard, but in actuality, they are exactly what a person like myself needs, is to get that core stable. And I know that from time to time, people have seen my pictures of me in the bathroom without a shirt on, but you know what? Honestly and truly, that is from just simply doing the core work. And core work is what stabilizes my back. And I can't stress that enough to anybody who's having back problems out there, especially with the transverse abdominal area. You got to get that strong. That's what holds your whole spine up. It's what stabilizes you. It keeps you from, having that little, And so, yeah, you got to get your core strong, man. It's the key. It's our foundation for everything. It's what holds us up.
It is. I believe it. As far as them not being hard, I mean, a Paige workout doesn't jack my heart rate up like
right. That's what I mean.
Workouts do, but it is the hardest work to just sit there and hold some of those core poses, or to just, for me, it's the external rotation of the hips, that type of stuff, wears me out way faster and makes me way angrier than any jacked workout or any hour and a half long traditional DDPY workout. And it's hard work. And it is important. We all have a spine to some degree, and that's the muscle group that provides a structural support to your spine. So I would agree there. It's all of this stuff works your core a little bit with the little stabilizer muscles, but doing that targeted lower core work is something that we often overlook. So what I know that I kind of remembered seeing this blossom a couple years ago. Rob and I became acquainted through the Tiger Battalion in, I believe it was April of 2021. There was a group of Tiger Battalion folks that put out a push-up challenge. to raise money for soldier suicide prevention, I believe it was.
Yes, stop soldier suicide. Yes.
And I jumped into that late, but Rob was amongst that group, and it kind of just spurned into a giant accountability group. And I remember later in that year when when Rob started taking up biking, is what I was getting to say. And just explain to me how that little experiment of trying to get back on the bike again has impacted your life.
Actually, I get this question quite a bit, and people ask me why I feel so passionately about biking. And I was talking with my own brother just last time I was home, and we were talking about it. We actually went for a little bike ride ourselves, and he was asking me, he said, I understand that you feel like you have to be in the best physical shape for the condition that you have. He said, but why do you go so overboard with the biking? And to me, it doesn't feel like I go overboard. And what I explained to him is that, when I'm riding a bicycle, it's the one place where I don't have that disability. I don't have back pain. I don't have the drop foot and the right foot, and I don't have any of the issues that I normally have when I'm on 2 feet. I don't have on the bike, and it just helps me escape. And I want to be there as much as I possibly can. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Because I remember seeing the whole thing, at first experimenting with different types of bikes and telling us when you got a little bit of road rash from a wipeout, or, like a flat tire on the dump truck was a regular comment. And
yeah.
And now I don't hear about the wipeouts. Maybe they still happen. But
actually, I found out what the problem was on that. And that was kind of owner error. The bike that I had bought, the road bike I bought, the rims were shot on it, and the spokes actually were going up through the rims and poking the inner tubes.
That's a problem. Yeah,
it is a problem. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Like I said, I've got to watch your relationship with the bike grow to a ridiculous extent, and now we're sitting in. Right now, it's toward the end of May. You set a pretty big goal for this year. What is that?
Initially, I was just going to try to go over 4,000 miles because I didn't reach that goal last year. My mother got sick, and I had to make a lot of trips back and forth to Ohio. So it was just kind of important for me to make that goal. And then I somehow got introduced to this wacko, crazy person, Brittany Primbridge. And Brittany has pushed me to the point where she has me I'm on course to do 10,000 miles this year. I'm currently I just did my first 7 days of 40 miles a day. I did that today. And I didn't know when she first asked me, can you do this? Or are you scared? Wow. I've never had anybody approach me like that. Right. It's normally the other way around. I'm like, what about you? Can you do this? Can you handle this? What's the matter? Are you soft? Whatever the case may be. I've never had anybody approach me the other way. And, when she asked me, can you do 40 a day? I actually had to take a step back and say, I don't know. And then I took some of my own advice. So it's like, man, if it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Right. So I jumped on it, and that's where we're going.
My brain went to a different place when you said that, but but yeah, that's like I said, if it's something that intimidates you, well, then it's got to be worth pursuing.
Right. Absolutely. So we're doing that. We're going for 10,000 miles this year. And what she actually ended up telling me was that if I'll do 10,000, they should do 5. And I can't back down from that. I just can't.
Well, not now. Yeah, you can't give her an excuse to back down. So,
right. What kind of a coach would I be?
Honest, I'm not going to put 10,000 miles on my Chevy this year. Let alone the bike. So that is an insane goal there. I think that the purpose of this show is to kind of connect members of the DDPY community. In my opinion, the fitness aspect makes it a great program. The nutrition advice, things like that, all very valuable. But what sets this program aside is the community of people surrounding it. So I would ask you, what's been the biggest benefit you've experienced being a part of the DDPY community?
Honestly and truly, it's a group that you and I both belong to. It's the diehards. Being associated with those people, we don't. Initially, the whole thing started out talking about just about the physical exercise, and I think that's where we kind of wanted it to stay.
Mhm.
But the more we got to know each other, the more we got involved with each other's personal lives, the different things that we're doing, like when you were residing your house over this past year, we all knew that we were following along with that. That was important to us, how much progress you had made that day. Everybody has different afflictions, and it's in that group. There's not a weak link. There's not. Everybody that's there, that they have something or they're going to go through something, but it's not a matter of if they'll recover. It's a matter of just when they'll recover. And I love that group. I have a very strong fondness from it. And you can see people that they'll float out and then they'll float back in,
Mhm.
and when they float out, they're going through some shit. You just know it, but when they need somebody that they really need, some things you just can't share with your family. They got to share with somebody that they know that understands. And that's to our tribe. That's where we go. And it's a strong community. I love those people.
You mentioned that, it started out, we were just talking about the work we were doing, making sure we did our 28th. I did mine today, by the way.
Yeah.
And it just kind of blossomed from there. Got to a point where we don't need to ask that, right? It's assumed that every member of that group is doing the work every day.
Right.
So then it just kind of naturally evolved into kind of more just freaking someone to bitch at or whine to, whatever it might be. So I agree. I've gotten to know a lot of people living out here in the middle of the map. Nobody ever comes up here.
Right.
I wouldn't have the opportunity to get to know nearly as many people as I have over the last couple of years. So I'm forever grateful for it. All right. Well, what do you say we roll into some rapid fire questions?
All right.
These are specially curated. I wrote these down on the back of a Dixie cup as we were bullshitting before our meeting here. All right. So I'm going to start out with what is your favorite place?
My favorite place, honestly and truly, it's on the north end of Sal Padre Island. It is. I just discovered it this past year. It's uninhibited. It's still in its natural state. There's sand dunes and ocean out there. It's not developed. There's not any condos. There's nothing. It's the only thing out there that looks like it man's touches is there's just a road out there. And that. I love that.
With the exception of the sand dunes and the ocean, you just described 90% of North Dakota. So
without an ocean.
Let's see here. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
You're not going to believe this shit. Elton John, 1977. I think it was his. It was a tour where he was doing like Philadelphia Freedom, but man, I didn't want to go, but I am so glad I did. That man he's an artist. He's a true artist.
He's a great showman. Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. I'd be surprised if you were jamming to it, on your Walkman. But everybody I've heard who's seen him live says it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite way to eat sweet potatoes?
Right out of the refrigerator, first thing in the morning, just raw. Not raw, cooked, obviously, but just, right out of there and just, man, it's just nothing better. I get an energy spike out of it. Oh.
Yeah,
I might have to go.
What, if you had to choose to work out with just one DDPY instructor for the rest of your life, who would that be?
Actually, it'd have to be Yoga Doc. He puts me into positions that kind of frighten me, just because I don't want to twist my back that way. But every time, it's just like when we were down there doing Warrior's Purpose, and he was trying to get me into some of those positions. And like when first time I ever threaded the needle and I got my shoulder down on the mat,
Yeah.
man, that opened me up like crazy. So, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like his stuff because it's difficult, but his stuff is just so, I mean, it's so deep, you know, it just opens me up.
Yeah. It hits different. It hits different. You got to mix some yoga doc in once in a while. What would you say is your biggest weakness?
My biggest weakness. I'm gonna have to say that I'm not easy enough on myself. I find that as a weakness. I don't give myself an opportunity to fail, if that even makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't make my own expectations, I'm kind of hard on myself. Yeah. So.
Well, on the flip side, what would you say is your greatest strength?
My greatest strength has got to be my determination. You know, I don't think there's anything in this world I can't do.
That's awesome. What is the worst meal you ever ate?
Oh, Jesus. Back in the day when I was in the military, C rations, the old fashioned, used to take what they called a P-38, have to open them up. Pork.
Ugh.
Oh my God. Pork in a can. Oh, Jesus. Nobody wanted that shit.
It sounds disgusting. What is the worst advice you ever received?
Worst advice I ever received. Don't move back to Texas.
Well, and what is the best advice you ever received?
Start your own business. Go into business for yourself.
Awesome.
And it worked out really well for me.
Was it tree trimming?
No, actually I was in fire protection.
Okay. Yeah, I remember something about bucket lifts anyway. But you survived the rapid fires.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I purposely set some time aside because I thought this next part might get a little lengthy. But now this is the part of the program where we typically ask you to give a little bit of a shout out, some recognition to a member of the DDPY community and give us a little bit of why.
And actually, we already touched on some of these people, and I want to revisit that. And that's my tribe. And that list is kind of long, so I had to write them down because that continues to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention Mike Runyon because Mike kind of comes and goes in our group, but he never quits, and I love that about him. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna throw him in there also. But Joanna McBride, Artie Eichelman, Catherine Gerard, thank you for being you. Bob Wright, Debbie Sipko, Jeremy Vrablik, who is an animal. I love that guy. I know he's going through some shit right now, but I love that dude. Lisa Dugan, Megs. I love Meg Malloy. Michael Murphy, Mike Phelps, Natasha Biggle, I call her Nate, Rodney Mason, and our newest member, Scott French.
That's a long list. I didn't realize it got to be quite that big. But
yeah, it's growing. But you know what? I also have, and I know some of you people know that I'm doing the fast track coaching right now, and those people, including you guys are doing some amazing stuff, and it really does my heart good to sit back and see somebody put the mechanics of what I tell them to do to use, and it actually works. And then maybe this old guy is not full of shit, and he might know a few things, So I love watching that. And the last person I'm going to mention is kind of going through some shit right now, so I'm gonna leave her to the side. But I think the person that is actually fighting the hardest right now is Brittany Pembridge. Brittany's really putting the work in hard, and neck and neck with her is Denise Sirk. Denise is really crushing it. She's doing a great job. UAV, man, you're doing a wonderful job, dude. And I was shocked, dude, when you came to me. We talked about doing this together. I was shocked because I just didn't think that you were the kind of guy that would need guidance from an asshole like me. So I really respect that, and I appreciate that. I want you to know that. We got Cat Bell, Sam Alba. You know, Sam just joined us recently. I'm glad to have Sam back in the fold. We got Jake Order. Jake has a history of failing at doing this, and he's not failing this time. Jake is on his shit, and I love that about him, you know? And when Jake and I talked about doing this together with him, I told him, I said, Jake, if you're coming in this just to bullshit me, to stroke your ego, whatever it is you're going to do, just don't. But if you're coming into work this time, then come on, because I'm here for you. And Jake is really doing the work, and I love that for him, you know? And he's passionate about it, and that's where I know that he's really trying, because he is passionate about it. You know, he fucking went out and bought a bike. You know, and that's another thing I love about this fast tracking. Have you noticed how many of you guys are actually biking? You guys are all stepping up to your cardio.
Yeah, I think we probably could have predicted it to some extent, given the chosen coach. But
right.
yeah, it's been something to watch.
Yeah, of course we got Joanna still in there. We got Artie is in there, and then the last person I want to talk about. I forgot to mention Ryan Cecil. I don't think I mentioned Ryan. Ryan's an animal. But the last person I want to talk about is Trina Norris. Trina had a softball-sized cyst on her ovaries, and she's probably going to kill me for giving out her personal information, but she ended up having to have surgery on it, and she's recovering now. But Trina was really on. I mean, she was the definition. She was on the fast track to doing what we were designed to do. And she just kind of, shit just started going bad for her. And once she finally had that surgery, she ended up having to have another emergency surgery, and she's now recovering. But I just want to reach out to her and tell her, we're all going to still be here for you. We're all going to just, whatever it is that you need once you get back on your feet, we're all here. And I love that girl. And I know that she's a true fighter, and she's going to make she's going to make it. She's going to make it all the way. And I wouldn't be surprised to see not all of you guys somehow, some way end up in Atlanta. You guys are doing that well. So I'm proud of you. I really am. I'm proud of you guys all.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. Like you said, it's not, you see people, there's people in that group that have been part of the program as long as you have. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's not that they don't know what they're doing. It's not that they're not willing to work. It's just, it gets to a certain point where just you coaching you it's not quite doing the trick anymore. Mm-hmm. So you want someone else to, for a while, it's almost easier because I can kind of shut my brain off and say, well, okay, well, here's what I got to do. Just go do it.
Right.
And show that you did it. And yeah, just there's like a switch that flips. You mentioned Ryan Cecil has been doing DDPY for like 3-4 years now.
Yeah, he's been doing it as long as I have, I know. And
he's, this is a guy that I know has been doing advanced DDPY workouts, moves, whatever, for the last couple of years. But had never quite figured out the nutrition piece. And since coming under your guidance, he's like a whole new man. He's had more progress in the last month and a half than he's had in the last 2 years.
His recent side-by-sides are phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch. He's a guy who's always been a good dude, and I'm really happy to see him doing well right now. So
I am too. I really am.
There's only one more thing we got to ask you to do here, Rob. Steal a little more Diamond Dallas page IP, and we got to ask you to give us a bang to shut her down.
Bang!
All right. Thanks, everybody. Whatever you are, be a good one. See you next time.
Happiness today, I'm feeling great. And if you smile all the time, then your face gon' turn that way. Yeah, it feels good, don't it? Damn, it feels good to have people up on the say, yeah, it feels good, don't it? Damn, it feels good.